What's up everyone, it's System Check 66 here, and we're going to talk about the Resident Evil DLC, or Resident Evil 8 DLC. It got revealed at the Capcom event last night, and I'm glad it did because I generally thought that they'd scrapped it or it just would never come out. But, you know, in my previous videos I said, yeah, it might not be coming out. I was wrong, so we are getting some DLC, but I'm a bit conflicted with it, so we'll get into it. Anyway, more about the DLC. It takes place sometime after Resident Evil 8. It kind of carries on from the epilogue of that game, you know, the ending of that game where you see Rose visit Ethan's grave and she talks about her powers and stuff, so that security guy's, you know, watching over her. And she mentions Chris, etc, etc. So Chris is still around, he's still alive, and he seems to be her carer, you know, he looks after her. So this seems to take place just after that. And we see Rose talking to some guy with like glasses and a beard, but he's a new character. And I don't know, like it's like she's trying to find out what happened to her father and trying to follow some breadcrumbs, you know, a trail of breadcrumbs for answers, essentially. While the trailer's going on, we hear a monologue saying that she ends up connecting with the Megamycete and delving into its consciousness. And the guy who has the glasses, the beard, you know, this new character, he seems to have part of the Megamycete in his lab. So I don't know what's going on there. That's interesting. That's sort of part of it taking place after Resident Evil 8 and in the timeline, the canon of the series, all taking place kind of in the future. That's interesting. That has me interested. I'm surprised at what they're going to do with Resident Evil 9. We're going to have to wait and see, but that has me interested. However, where I'm conflicted is the fact that this is like a Silent Hill type experience. It's weird. The woman monologuing says that the world will be your enemy, as well as these new enemies, which is called, it's like these zombie things that we get to see, almost looking like pale head zombies. But yeah, there's like blood that bubbles up from the ground, and she seems to visit Dimitrescu's castle again, you know, and it's all kind of like broken and fractured, as you'd imagine from something that's trying to emulate psychological horror, a little bit like Resident Evil 8 and 7 did. So they're using this Megamycete thing and the mold and everything as a crux to bring in more psychological horror elements to the series, and I'm conflicted in that because I don't know if I like that. I don't know if that's what I want in my Resident Evil games going on, you know, going forward, you know, and also like currently as well. So it's part of a gold edition of Resident Evil 8, which is interesting. We also get the base game of Resident Evil 8, but now you can play it in third person, which is cool. This DLC takes place in third person. I think that's pretty cool. And we get some extra characters and stuff added to Mercenaries as well. Mercenaries is very fun, I've got to be honest. If there's one thing that I could take away from Resident Evil 8 that was super fun and I got really addicted to, it would be Mercenaries mode. But, like I said previously in my reviews and my coverage of the game, you know, post its launch, it has a disappointing story, and I've only ever played this game once. I haven't been through it again. Now, I will be going through it again, probably doing a Let's Play, but for now, it's one of my least favourite Resident Evil games to date. And the DLC, unfortunately, it's tapping into that psychological horror stuff, and it isn't very different from Resident Evil 8, as you can imagine. So people that are fans of Resident Evil 8 and where the series is going in that direction, and fans of you know, of that game they're gonna lap this up. They're gonna love it. For me and a lot of other fans, it's rubbing me the wrong way, definitely. You know, I don't know. There's a few other things in the trailer that were interesting, like namely she's in Dimitrescu's castle at one point, then she's in this like lab area, which is cool, and the way the castle's sort of changing and stuff, you know, because she's in the Megamycete's consciousness. That was interesting. Like visually it looks cool. And it is interesting if it was in a different game. But anyway, if this wasn't connected to Resident Evil. But anyway, we also get to see the merchant, the Duke, sorry, my bad. And he's like a bad guy in this. But technically he's not really, because it's in the consciousness of the Megamycete. And what else was there? Oh, she also gets to meet herself. So there's a girl that looks just like her. And I'm not going to lie, other than the face looking like Rose's, the girl looks like she belongs in Silent Hill. So yeah, there's that, and it looks like she's in the sort of dungeon parts of, you know, of the castle, Dimitrescu's castle, and she also gets her hands on, like, you know, those jars that held bits of her that Ethan was grabbing. She puts her hands on that, and it kind of like, I don't know, it sends up these electric shock looking things, like lights her up type of thing. They're like electric shocks that that light her up. So yeah, like, God. Oh, Resident Evil used to be about bioweapons and Umbrella and viruses running amok. Not anymore. So she apparently gets help from someone called Michael. Obviously, I don't know what that's about. A lot of people ain't going to know what that's about until we actually play the DLC. Compared to Not a Hero DLC, this is lacking, definitely. But that's because RE7 was a little bit more grounded than this game. Yeah, it still had that stuff where Ethan was infected by the mold and, you know, and he was getting visions and things and stuff not happening. But, you know, for real. But still, like, RE8 went like full pelt and just, you know, went with it, ran with it, like, you know, ran with that psychological horror stuff. So, yeah, I don't know what to think. I don't know. I'm not going to be getting the gold edition because I generally don't like the original base game that much enough to buy it again. That's the truth. So yeah, I think RE7, the gold edition, it didn't have anything on there that I really, you know, that I really thought I should own. And it was a very short game, that's the thing, so I never rebought that, and I'm not going to re-buy RE8, because I thought 7 was way better, you know, so if I didn't buy the gold edition for that, why am I going to do it for this? I'll just download the DLC, I'm pretty sure they're going to release it on PS Store, so I'll download it and play through it. Mercenaries, don't really care that we're getting a few extra characters, and third-person mode for RE8, the new Resident Evil games that aren't remakes are supposed to be in first person. If you're going to release a third person mod for RE8, then release it for 7 as well. Other than that, I don't see the point in doing it. If you're going to stick with something, stick with it through. Now, in all fairness, yes, they are accommodating to the fans. Fans have asked for this, and they are accommodating to that. That's cool. I think that's great. You know, they're like, okay, let's do a third-person mod. Not that it's going to be hard to implement, but let's do it anyway, and you know, we'll keep the fans happy. So I think that's a good start from Capcom. But yeah, I didn't really care whether it was in third or first person. To be honest with you, it's not like the OG Resident Evil games. If they'd have made Resident Evil 2 remake or 3 remake or 4 remake in first person, I would have been a bit pissed. But as it is, the Resident Evil games that feature Ethan Winters, I don't mind them in first person, doesn't bother me. So if you're going to stick with something, stick with it, you know, don't backtrack. But then again, this is just an added little feature on top of the base game for fans, you know, of Resident Evil 8, so that's cool. That is good on Capcom's part. But it's showing that maybe they're wanting to carry on with the third person perspective. So maybe RE9 might be in third person, who knows. And we also got a little teaser for Reverse or R-Reverse or however you want to pronounce it, and they were like, we're hoping that you'll like this. Ain't no motherfucker gonna like that, okay? Yeah, it looks dead, it looks crap. No, but anyway, it's releasing, so for anyone who's even slightly interested in this free-for-all, battle royale, Resident Evil, whatever the fuck it is, go ahead, fill your boots. But for the rest of us, like, it's tacky and it's just selling the series down the river even more than they're doing at the moment, because they are really trying to sell this series down the river. The Resident Evil 4 remake looks good, so I have hope for that, and I feel it's going to be good. It's got the people who worked on Resident Evil 2 remake, you know, I believe some of the team that worked on RE3 remake, so it's good. It's mainly the people who worked on the RE2 remake. So RE4 remake, that's where it's at the moment in terms of Resident Evil, for me personally, you know, and Resident Evil games that are coming out. But it's a shame. It's a shame that I have to rely on the remakes of older games to get my proper Resident Evil fix, as opposed to, and even then, you know, it's not the best experience because they cut stuff. But still getting that sort of old school vibe and flavour and just, you know, that Resident Evil that I used to love, like, feeling, that comes from the remakes as opposed to the newer games. Resident Evil 8, like I said, I thought the story was complete trash. You know, it was horrible. The game was good in places, in parts, but some of it was extremely boring and very linear and scripted. I know RE7 was a little bit scripted as well, but just didn't feel on the same level as RE8. The story, if we're going in terms of story, by story, it was horrible. I didn't like it. It's leaning way too much into into fantasy, way too much into fantasy, more than any other game has. I feel like Resident Evil 8 is just a jumbled mess, I really do, of a game. It's all these ideas thrown at the wall and seeing which one sticks, and a lot of the time they don't stick. It's a few things that do stick. And this whole psychological horror like slant that they're doing, I mean, yes, they're running with the original Resident Evil 4 concept, but they're running with it in the wrong direction. Like, this is too much. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you kind of get where I'm coming from? I've never really thought psychological horror should be present in a Resident Evil game. Even though Shinji Mikami was going to add it into Resident Evil 4 at one point, I still don't know how I felt about that. I don't think I like that. We have Silent Hill, we have Evil Within, we have, you know, Project Zero, all these other games that deal with psychological horror. We don't need that from Resident Evil. Resident Evil has always been more about things being there in front of you. It's like Alien. It's not it's not in your imagination. It's not made up. It's not a ghost. It's right there in front of you, and it can rip your throat out if it wants to. And that's what Resident Evil has always been about. It's been about things being in front of you, these creatures, these bioweapons being in front of your character, ready to chop your head off at a moment's glance. Not everything's happening in my character's mind and he could die from some sort of fucking brain death or something, you know, like the Matrix, right? That's not what Resident Evil's about. And like I said, I know Mikami envisioned that sort of stuff for Resident Evil 4, but I don't know, it just looked like it would have been handled a lot better than it's being handled in Resident Evil 8 and this DLC. So I don't know what to think about the story. I think the story's going to be a load of crap, personally, from what I can tell from the trailer. I'm sorry. Sorry to anybody who really genuinely loves the story of Resident Evil 8 or, you know, is liking the way the series is heading. That's cool. Like, I'm not slating you for liking that sort of stuff. I'm just saying, for me personally, and a lot of other fans that have been there from the beginning, not everybody, but there's a lot of us, that we just don't like the direction in which this series is heading. You know, I'm speaking for myself, obviously I can't speak for everybody else, but for myself, being there from director's cut up till now, yeah, it's just unfortunate. It's a bit like Jurassic World Dominion's come out and people are extremely disappointed because it's literally just a cash grab, you know, just a cash in, and that's what the Resident Evil sort of series at the moment is in my eyes, in my opinion. That's what Capcom's doing with this series, and it's a massive shame. And look, you don't have to be a genius to work out that they are trying to get as much money from the series as they can, and they don't care how they're doing it, you know. So we've got the Resident Evil Netflix show coming out, which looks crap. You know, we have this DLC which has taken ages, but to me doesn't resemble anything Resident Evil. It's this completely different thing, this completely different horror-like franchise and game, but it's not, because it's connected to Resident Evil. I mean, I'll just take something from Resident Evil 8 that really cemented the fact that they didn't care anymore, and that's the Heisenberg fight, where he turns into a giant transformer. He literally turns into a Decepticon, and you get in this weird tank that Chris was able to make just in his spare time, you know, whilst running around the village. And yeah, and you just blast him with this with this man-made Chris Redfield tank. I was sitting there going, what is going on? What is happening? And then Miranda shows up and she starts fucking with your mind again, because she's got like special powers or some shit, like Final Fantasy fucking, you know, boss powers. And then you fight her and she's flying. Okay, maybe I'm just getting old. Maybe I'm just an old grouchy bastard. I don't know, I really don't know, but I miss old Resident Evil. I miss it so much. And luckily, you know, they remade 2 of the games, and yes, RE3 remake ain't the best, but, you know, it's not very long, and it's still enjoyable to a point. I'd rather play RE3 remake than play Resident Evil Village any day of the week. Any day of the week, even with all the cut stuff and that, and yes, it's not as good as the original, no way, but it still reminds me a little bit of old school Resident Evil, just a little bit. You know, and RE2 remake was good. I enjoyed that, so I can always go back to those. And RE4 remake looks like a lot of love and care is going into it. This DLC looks like, I don't know, I would say that it was just slapped together, but they've taken so long creating it and trying to let us know it was coming out, that I don't know, it just, yeah, it looks like they've taken some time with it, and it's still looking a bit dire, I've got to be honest with you. Like, Not a Hero is just straight to the point. He plays Chris Redfield and he's mopping up what was left, you know. He's cleaning up after Ethan, you know, after Ethan's adventure. This, however, just looks like they're trying to go in a completely different direction and, I don't know, recreate the Matrix or Inception with Akira elements added. Weird. Very, very strange. Very weird. Yeah, it seems like I don't know, they've taken the Paul W.S. Anderson films to heart and they've run with it. I mean, the most we got from older Resident Evil games was RE4 with the laser room, the laser hallway, and that was taken obviously from the first film, but that's about all that I can remember that was taken from the first film. That and just the fact that Leon could like roundhouse kick people and stuff like that. So, you know, a lot of that weird sort of like kung fu stuff that was in the first film was kind of, you know, borrowed and put in RE4. But other than those two elements, literally, like, it, you know, it didn't copy the film too heavily. But with this, yeah, we've got Rose. She apparently got like mind powers and stuff, like Alice from the films. I don't know, man. It's such a clusterfuck at the moment. Like, you can't deny that Resident Evil 8 was a weird game. You know, there's been a few weird Resident Evil games, but I think the 8 was just very strange. Like, it was the weirdest one to date. So, I mean, you know, it wasn't so bad that I didn't give it anything less than a 7 or under a 7. But yeah, it's still disappointing. Like, I haven't played it since, and that's not like me. When it comes to playing a Resident Evil title, normally I'll finish the game in a day, you know, depending on the length, maybe 2 days. This, I think it took me a couple days, like 4 days, because I just wasn't that interested in it enough to get addicted to it and you know, and play through it at a certain pace that I'm used to playing when it comes to Resident Evil titles, you know, or Metal Gear Solid, because I absolutely love those sort of franchises. So, or, you know, I used to love those franchises. If Resident Evil 4 Remake is good and they hit out the park with it, then I'll still have that love for the series. But it's a shame, man. It's going in a weird direction. I feel alienated from the series. You know, this isn't the series that I grew up with. This is a completely different thing, and it's going down a route that's completely different that they want to take it. So yeah, it's very strange. Like, it's more about production values and look at what we can do in the RE engine and how impressive it is. And hey, you guys like shooting and action, here you go, here it is. You know, we held it back with Resident Evil 7. That was more of a VR experience, which was wicked. Apparently, people who've played it in VR said it's incredible. But that was jumping on a trend, and now this is like, well, hey, let's jump on that Bloodborne, because it did look like Bloodborne in some parts in RE8. Not that it's just like Bloodborne, but I'm saying it borrowed elements and stuff from, you know, those type of games, gothic horror and things like that. And I know that's always been a staple in Resident Evil, but it was more leaning to gothic horror. It's hard to explain. The game's so jumbled that when I try and talk about it, it's a mess because the game's a bit of a mess. That's the thing. So, and the ideas and stuff and the way they're taking Resident Evil. But yeah, it was trying to jump on that hype and be this first person shooter. You know, action game mixed with some horror elements, and we're going back to Resident Evil 5 and 6, and see where I'm going with this, and 4. It's strange, like, that's the thing. They don't even know what Resident Evil is at this point. You know, they're just creating things for the sake of creating them and then earning money from it, and it's not got those core things that made Resident Evil. This is what I'm trying to say. You can tell that it's just them creating ideas, putting them all together and going, here you go, here's a Resident Evil game, and it's really not. Like, it's not. It's just got the name. So that's kind of how things are going. You know, it's like I said. It's about, oh, what can we do? How can we branch off with this franchise? Like, we can give it to Netflix. They can create a show that takes place after RE5, or is it RE8? I'm not too sure. You know, we can give it to this film director, see if that works. We can, you know, and let him mash 2 stories together. We can bring out this DLC that's weird. It's like it belongs in Silent Hill, or it belongs like as a Silent Hill DLC. And then we'll continue the series with all these weird like fantasy elements, like, you know, and psychological horror elements. It's just strange. It's just weird, and we'll get this online free for all like battle royale game out, which is Reverse, and you know, like, rein it in, Capcom, rein it back in a little bit. It's getting a bit too crazy. Like, it's alienating a lot of people, a lot of fans, including myself, and yeah, it's weird. So, my thoughts on the DLC, I've just shared them. I don't need to, you know, to do an in summary, but yeah, I don't think it looks that good. I'm not super excited to play it. Let's just say that. I will play it when it comes out, if it's free. I don't know if I'll warrant spending money on it, but we'll see. The more I get to know about it, maybe the more I want to play it. But yeah, I think it's RE4 Remake and Callisto Protocol. That's where I'm going to be getting my survival horror fix. And I still think Callisto looks a lot better than this, at least, definitely. And it interests me a little bit more than RE4 Remake, just because, RE4 Remake is based on a game that I've played 10, maybe 15 times in my life. Some people have played it even more, so yeah, and it looks like a very close beat for beat remake of the original game. But then again, Leon does have his old jacket from the original concepts of RE4. Ashley apparently does as well. I haven't really seen concepts of her original design, and they might have Hookman in it. I'm hearing that's a rumor, it's a rumor as of now, but yeah, that would be cool. Like Flying Umbrella Base, I want it. I want that shit in the remake. So it's early days. We've only seen a teaser trailer for it. So I am hoping, and I've got my fingers crossed, that they implement some new stuff into it that is going to blow us away. Definitely. Not just little minor things that we're going to be, oh, okay, that's cool, it's a cool nod. I want to see some big boy things added in there that make me really go, wow, this is worthy of remake status, So we'll see. We'll see with Resident Evil 4 Remake. But the way that Capcom go on at the moment, it's like they do the least work as opposed to the original series of games. They used to put all the work in, and if it didn't work, they'd restart and remake the games, and now it's like they do the least amount of work, minimal amount of work, and then just release it, and go, oh, we'll get money, we'll earn money because of the name. That's how I feel Capcom are operating at the moment. Could be very wrong, but that's how I feel. But I have high hopes for the Resident Evil 4 remake, although it's going to be a while till I can play it, because I'd have to buy a new console just to play it. So we're going to have to see how that one plays out. And at the moment, I'm not ready to upgrade. You can't really get an Xbox or a PS5 that easy, at this point in time. And I've got a ton of games for the PS4 to play through. So, as it stands, I might not be able to play that straight away. I'll still cover it because it's Resident Evil and I'm interested in RE4 Remake. But, we're just going to have to see how that plays out. Callisto Protocol, though, I'm covering that all day long and I'm going to be able to play it. So I'm excited for that, definitely. But, yeah, that's my thoughts on the DLC and everything related to Resident Evil that's come out. There's also, before I end, there's also going to be a release of all 3 Resident Evil games that released on PS4. So Resident Evil 7, RE2 Remake and RE3 Remake, they're coming out as a pack on the PS5. So yeah, for any of you that own a PS5 or lucky enough to have got one and secured one, and you have one now, you can look forward to that if you want to buy those games again. For me personally, I don't know if I'd rebuy those. I've got to be honest with you. I'm happy just to switch to PS4 on, or at least put my copy of RE2 Remake and 3 Remake and 7 into my PS5 and play them that way. So yeah, I don't know if I'd pick up the bundle, but when I get a PS5, who knows, maybe I'll just buy it because it's all the games on like one disc. So yeah, they're my thoughts on everything Resident Evil that was covered during the Capcom showcase. Other things we got to see was a new Monster Hunter game, I believe. I'm not really into Monster Hunter, so I don't know too much about it. And what else was there? There's some other bits and pieces. Oh, the new like dinosaur swarm game, Exo something. What was it called? Exo something? I can't remember what it's called. That's it, it's Exo Primal, that's coming out, and it's this dinosaur swarm game. It's basically like Days Gone or World War Z, and there's just tons of dinosaurs coming at you, and you can play with friends and stuff and shoot the shit out of them. Yeah, it looks alright, it looks cool. I like the quirkiness and stuff, I like the idea, definitely. It does look actually pretty cool, but I would have preferred a Dino Crisis remake, or a Dino Crisis 3, a proper Dino Crisis 3. But like I said before, Capcom are in it for the money this time, making the big bucks, so they think, yeah, we'll get this out, this is going to sell more, and it's going to interest people more, because everybody loves the Battle Royale type of multiplayer, Evil Dead, Predator Hunting Grounds, Alien Fireteam type of games, so that's what they're sticking with. So yeah, that was all the stuff from Capcom Showcase of note. Other than that, the DLC for Resident Evil 8 left me disappointed, definitely. The Resident Evil 4 stuff. Oh, there was some Resident Evil 4 stuff. Little bit of gameplay, tiny bit of gameplay shows Leon just sort of walking through the forest, and it wasn't enough for me to cover, really. Let's be real. I'm gonna wait until there's more gameplay and some more trailers before I cover that. So yeah, other than that, disappointed. Definitely, it was a bit disappointing. Yeah, but for all the rest of you Resident Evil 8 fans, you know, enjoyed the story, enjoyed the game, like loads, say it's the best Resident Evil game to date, then this is 100% for you. It's more of the same, and that's what it's trying to do. So yeah. But for me, I feel a bit alienated, I've got to be honest. That's probably because I'm an old Resident Evil fan, and I just love the way it used to be as opposed to now. And you know, I'm probably sitting there going, back in my day, we used to have viruses and zombies and Umbrella. I've got to be honest with you, I thought we were getting the Ada sort of concept stuff that wasn't actually put into Village, and that was going to be DLC, and also we were going to be playing as Chris Redfield, and going to the BSAA headquarters. But as it is, it just looks like they've repurposed the assets for Resident Evil 8 to create this story with Rose. Like, alright, cheers. Lazy at the end of the day. That's one thing that stands out the most, actually. After all that's said and done, this whole video, my rant, it's lazy on Capcom's part. And a lot of stuff that comes out of the Resident Evil office seems lazy and a cash grab, you know, and the least amount of work and attention gone into it. And I'm not talking about the remakes. They have to make the remakes good. That's the thing. They have to. They can't piss anybody else off. You know, the RE3 remake pissed people off. It pissed me off, right? But the Resident Evil 2 remake just scraped it. Even though they cut stuff and I was pissed, they just scraped by with that, definitely. And it ended up being a fucking phenomenal remake of a classic game. And I'm sorry, I know some people, even OG fans, they come and they say to me, "You're crazy. You know, the original it doesn't live up to the original." But that's because there was a time and place for that game, and it blew our minds at the time. And I don't think Resident Evil was ever going to do that. But as far as remakes go, is it better than the original game's remake? You know, the Resident Evil remake? No, it's not, because that added stuff on top of existing stuff, didn't cut stuff. But it's still a decent remake. And if I had to play a Resident Evil game that's released in 2022, up to date, I would happily play more games like the Resident Evil 2 remake as opposed to Resident Evil 8 or, you know, Resident Evil Reverse. God, I can't believe they're still running with that. I can't believe it's not even been released. Jesus, it's like the most crappy looking cash-in piece of crap game that you could release. And that's saying something. It looks worse than Umbrella Corps. Because at least Umbrella Corps kind of took old, you know, areas from Resident Evil games and redid them, repurposed them, you know, made them look better. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be better than that. Who knows? I'm really not interested. But yeah, my rant is over. You've listened to me long enough. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section down below. Share your thoughts on everything and anything Resident Evil. If you want to disagree with me, that's fine. Then go ahead. But if you want to agree with me, let me know why you're agreeing with me. I want to know. So, comment section is there, and that's what it's used for. If you did like the video, go ahead and smash that like button. Dislike it if you didn't like my thoughts and opinions, and you're so much of a diehard Resident Evil 8 fan that you found what I was saying blasphemous. Blasphemy. Blasphemer. But yeah, let me know in the comment section down below. I had fun making this video, which is cool, because I haven't had fun making a video for a long time. I guess it's because I'm ranting, so yeah. And subscribe to my channel if you enjoy me as a content creator. Follow me on all socials at Insta. Not at Insta, I always say that. At SystemCheck66 or at SystemCheck66 on Twitter. And I'll catch you again next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'm out of here. Signing off. Peace.